This is a video taking you through using ABRSM's online music theory exam system. Please also see our video showing you how to complete your room scan if you've not already watched it. Once you've completed your room scan and ID checks, you will get to this login page. Here you should enter your username, which is your candidate contact ID, and password, which will have been emailed to the applicant ahead of the exam. Please do not use the reset password button here, but contact ABRSM directly if you're having any issues. Once your username and password are input, click Login to move on. Here you need to select the exam that you're taking. For the purposes of this demonstration, it's just showing one exam here, Practice Questions Grade 5. But on the day of your exam, you should choose the exam that you have entered for and are expecting to take. Click that to move on. You'll then see a page which looks like this. It's an overview page for the exam, and you'll see it shows which exam the candidate is taking, shown here as knowledge area and test areas on the top left-hand side of the page, as well as the time limit here for the exam. Now for these practice questions, it's showing as 30 minutes only, but on the day of the exam, that time limit there will be very specific to you. It will show you exactly how much time you have to complete your exam. There's some other general information about the exam on this page, so do read all of this information before clicking Start to move on. So here we can select the style for our exam. Now that's the coloured background, and we can choose the colour here that suits us best and we work best with. So I'm going to choose blue here by selecting it and press Continue to show you what that looks like. So as you'll see, that colour blue that we've selected previously shows now behind the text on this page. Now if we get to this point, or indeed any point in the exam, and we think that colour is not quite right for us, then we can change that. That's no problem at all. So simply pressing the Change Style button at the top here, that will take you back to the style selection page. So I'm going to choose pale yellow for my background for the remainder of this demonstration. Press Continue to apply that setting. So there we go, the pale yellow is now in the background. So this next page is general instructions for the exam. So it's just reminders really about showing rough paper to the camera to confirm they're blank, ensuring the responsible adult's present and know that the exam has started, as well as if you're sitting with other candidates, stating, I'm sitting with other candidates and the responsible adult is present. You'll also see down here there's a terminology bar, and that is repeated throughout the exam for the candidate to refer back to, should they wish to. So do remember at this point, the exam recording has already started. The exam itself has not yet begun, but the recording started at the point of room scan. So we are being videoed at this point. So press Continue to move on. So now we're into the exam system itself. And straight away, you'll see here that at the top right-hand side, there's a red box which has a countdown timer in it. That's the remainder of the time left to complete the exam. So we started for these practice questions at 30 minutes, and it's now down to 29 minutes and 40 seconds. But as I say, on the day of your exam, that will be relevant to you and show you how many minutes you have left to complete your exam. You'll also see here that there's only one question per page. So you can make the size of that bigger should you wish to do so. So you can see at the top of this page here, we've got plus and minus buttons. If we want to make that bigger, we can just press the plus here and it takes it much larger. So we're up to 144% here, and naturally as we get bigger, we will need to use the scroll bar at the side of the page just to scroll down so that we can see all of the answers available to us to choose in the exam. So I'm going to press the minus button at the top of the page here, take that back down to 100%. That's the size that suits me best. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about navigating around the system and how you move throughout the system to different questions before we talk about the question types specifically and what to expect in the exam. So moving around from question to question, you'll see here at the bottom of the page is a menu line. And we can select different questions here simply by moving us on. So the question we're currently on is always shown as red. So here we're question 1, there's a red box surrounding question 1. The info page previously, that's already been completed. So it shows as green, and anything that's yet to be completed shows as white. So if we click to question 2, you'll see that box changes there to question 2. Question 1 remains as white. We haven't yet completed it. And we can move on simply like that. Alternatively, at the top of the page, you'll see there's a nav button in between previous and next. They can also be used to move to different questions throughout the exam. But if you click that navigation button there, you'll see a full list of the questions in the exam there and their state. So that's whether they've been answered or unanswered. And you'll see here there's also a flag button, and we will cover that a bit later on in the video. So I'm going to click back to question 1 here, and it will take me straight back there. So now we need to look at navigating at the specifics of the questions. So this first question here is an example of a multiple choice question where you have to select the answer from a given list. So you can see there are 3 options here, and once you've selected your answer here, you'll notice that this answer button here becomes red, it becomes active, and we could submit that answer to move on. Now, by clicking that answer button, we've moved on to the next question, and that answer has been stored by the system. You can change that answer still later on in the exam should you wish to, but at the moment that answer has been stored, and that's the one that would be submitted. So this next question is an example of a drag and drop question, which is the online equivalent of writing your answers on paper. So to complete this question, you'll need to drag one of the available note heads onto the stave. So there are 5 note heads to choose from here, as you can see at the side. And you need to drag one of these across onto the stave for your answer. So you simply click on that note head, drag it across, and place it wherever you want to on the stave. Now you can place that above the note, you can place it to the right of the note. We don't mind where that note is placed in relation to the original note. What is important is where that note is in relation to the lines and spaces of the stave. So it either needs to be very clearly in between the lines or with a line going straight through it to show that's exactly the note that we mean to put on the stave. So that's my answer there, although I'm not quite sure about it. So at this point, I'm going to show you about the flag functionality. Now, the flag functionality is, I guess, the equivalent of us writing a big star on our paper or making a note that we want to come back to that if we were taking a paper-based exam. So this is the online equivalent of that. It's a reminder for us to come back and check this answer. So the bottom right-hand side of this page, you'll see there is a flag button. Now I'm going to click that flag button now, and you will see on the bottom left-hand side here, a flag has come above question 2, which is the question we are on. So that there just acts as a visual reminder for us to come back to that question and review our answer before we complete the exam. I do need to press answer now to move on to the next question. This next question is an example of a fill in the blank question, where you need to enter an answer by typing 1, 2, 3 into the boxes. So you won't be able to write any text here. You can't write out the number 2, for example. You must put in the numbers here. So you can just click your mouse into there and you can see the flashing cursors there, and you can put the answers in there that you want. Now you can tab between these 2 boxes, or you can just put your cursor in there, your mouse in there, and just click between them in order to put your answers in. So once you're happy that your answers are okay there, you can click answer to move on to the next question. So here is an example of a matching question where you have to select an answer from the pull-down list of options. You will need to select an answer for every part of this question, shown here as A to E, before the answer button becomes active, which you can then click to move on. So I'm going to scroll down here and input my answers for each of those parts. And the answer button is active, which I can click to move on. Now this is the final page of the exam. It says, congratulations, you've now reached the end of your music theory exam. If you would like to, you can go back over any of your answers. If not, you need to tear up your rough paper on the screen. So if I were to end my exam now, I would simply get my rough paper, and you can see on the top right-hand side of the screen an image, and you just need to tear up that paper in front of the camera just to ensure that that has been done. And then I'm going to press continue to move on. Now here an end test pop-up comes. It just wants to remind you that you're about to end the test and question whether you're happy to do that or whether you want to go back into your test and review any answers. It reminds us there's one question that's been flagged to review. So I'm not going to end the test here. I'm going to continue to go back into the exam and review that question. Now there are two ways to get back to that question. You can either just simply click on the question here that has the flag above it, or you can go back into the navigation menu up here at the top. And you'll see now that under the flagged column here, this checkbox has a tick in it. So that shows us the flagged questions. So I'm going to click back to question 2 and it takes me back there. Now you'll see that the question here looks a little bit different. It's kind of been greyed out. That's because your answer has been submitted. So we need to edit that question now. So you'll see here at the bottom right hand side of the page, you can edit that question. Click that button. Now that bit makes your answer active again, so it sort of come back to life so you can edit that page. Now if you continue to press this clear button here where the edit button was, it's just changed label there, it will just completely refresh this question and get rid of your answer. If you wanted to, you don't have to press that clear button, you can just drag the previous answer off the screen or delete it and then just edit it with the one that you want. So I'm going to change my response here. I've thought about it and I would rather have a different note there for my answer. So I'm going to place that note there and I'm happier with that. I'm going to remove the flag. So I'm pressing the flag button again and you'll see that that flag has now gone. It's not essential, you don't need to, but the system will always remind you that you have flagged questions remaining at the end of the exam, should you, when you get there. So I'm going to press answer again and that submits that answer and you can see that's locked in because the question now shows as grey. So now we need to finish the exam once we've checked through all of our questions and we're happy everything here is green, all the questions are done and we've reviewed any of our flags. So at the top of the page here, we click the End Test button. Again, this prompt comes up just saying we've answered all of our questions. To either go back, we press Continue, or to end the test, we press the End Test button, which I'm going to do on this occasion. One final reminder, just making sure that you're definitely happy to end the test. By doing so here, pressing OK, we submit our answers to ABRSM for marking. And this is it's called the result page. It's not the result, it's just a summary confirming that your answers have been submitted to ABRSM and giving you details there about when the results will be sent to the applicant. So the final thing you'll need to do is just close down the exam system. So you can either just press the cross on the top right hand side of the page or click close here. And the system just asks you whether you're really sure you want to exit. You press OK to close down the system.